Hi there, my name is Obed and I'm here to introduce a very interesting topic, and today we want to talk about computer peripheral devices. So what is a peripheral device on a computer? A peripheral device is any device you connect outside your computer, either through a port or even wirelessly, and it is controlled by that computer. Peripheral devices are categorized into three categories. We have input devices. They're used to enter data into the computer. A very good example of an input device is a keyboard. Yeah, you type to enter data in form of keystrokes. Another good example is a scanner. That's an input device, enters data into the computer. Another very good example is a mouse. It enters data in form of instructions. And then the next category that we have is output devices. So we have input and output. Output devices are normally subcategorized more because we have three types of outputs. We have soft copy output. This is an output that you cannot touch. Like for example, the screen outputs data in or information in soft copy. You cannot touch that. Another output device that outputs soft copy is a projector. And then from there, we have another type of output, and that is output in form of hard copy. This is an output that we can touch. Like for example, output on pieces of paper, output on a piece of plastic. So that is output in hard copy. Devices that output hard copy, number one, we have a printer. That is the most common example. We have other devices that can be put on that category. Like for example, you have a plotter, yeah, and other devices. And then we have output in form of sound. Output in form of sound is normally done using a speaker. So a speaker is an output device, but now it outputs data in form of sound. The next category of peripheral devices is storage devices. These are the devices that store data. Good example, we have a flash disk, we have a memory card, we have a compact disc or a CD, we have a digital versatile disc, that is a DVD. So all these devices are computer peripheral devices, basically connected to a computer system to help run our daily or our routine tasks. So we are now done with that very interesting topic about computer peripheral devices. So the next thing or the next component that I want to talk about in conjunction with that is the central processing unit. So let's talk about the CPU of a computer. So the CPU is actually the brain of the computer because it does all the processing activities. From the time you press a key on the keyboard to the time that letter that you press is being displayed on the screen, all that is normally controlled and executed with the CPU or the central processing unit. So the central processing unit has three components or three parts inside it. We have the Arithmetic Logic Unit, ALU. It does all the arithmetical calculations on data, the ALU. And then from there, the next part that we have of the CPU is the control unit, the CU. The CU controls all the activities of the microprocessor. It actually controls everything. It knows what instruction is for what data. So what is supposed to be done to certain data. So where that data is supposed to be processed and finally sent to. So that is the work of the control unit. And then from there, we have registers. Registers, they are memories within the CPU used to hold data before and after processing, or basically used to hold data and instructions. I'll give you a very good analogy. When you go to a hospital, we have the doctor that you should see. We have the waiting room, and we have the queuing clerk, or basically the receptionist. So the arithmetic logic unit could be compared to the doctor, who is actually going to do the actual treatment. And then from there, the waiting rooms could be compared to the registers. You're normally there sitting, waiting for the doctor to come. So you don't go there, find the doctor busy, and then you have to go home, then come back later. You have to wait in the waiting room. And then from there, we have the nurse at the reception. This one could be compared to the control unit. She welcomes you to the hospital, asks you what you want, maybe you want to see a doctor, and then they cue you. They tell you sit there, and then after the doctor is done with a patient, they call you and tell you that you should be next. So that's the analogy that will help you understand the central processing unit components or parts and how they work. So we've talked about the arithmetic and logic unit. It actually works on numbers. And then you have the control unit controlling the activities of the microprocessor. And then we have registers being temporary storage used to hold data and instructions before and after processing. So that is about the central processing unit. Another thing that you ought to understand about the CPU, its speed, it's normally measured in megahertz or even gigahertz. Remember, it executes instructions in cycles, and the CPU is very fast, very fast. In quotes, it has heartbeats. So your heartbeat is 72 beats or pulses in 1 minute. But now for the CPU, it's normally calculated in terms of billions of cycles per second. Billions of cycles. For example, my computer CPU has the speed of around, I think it's around 3.0 GHz. GHz stands for billion cycles per second. So it means that it can at least execute 3.0 billion instructions in just 1 second, because every cycle stands for something being done. So that is how strong and how powerful the central processing unit is. But the cycles per second or the speed alone cannot be used to determine how powerful a computer is. This is just one factor, but we have got other factors. Just like you cannot compare the speed and the power of a motorcycle and a motor vehicle with the number of revolutions per minute the wheel makes. Because maybe a motorcycle will make the same number of revolutions per minute, just like a certain vehicle. But now when it comes to real performance on the road, it depends with maybe the power, actually the power or the cc of that particular vehicle. So when it comes to computers, it's exactly the same. You don't merely compare computer speed on the clock rate of the CPU or the speed of the CPU. We normally check the number of cores that CPU uses and actually even the generation. So that is where you could have a 4th generation processor and another person has a 10th generation processor. They both have got the speed of maybe, let's take an example of 2.4 GHz, but you find the 10th generation in performance, it's extremely amazing and fast. But maybe the 5th generation or the 6th generation is slower, even though the clock rate is the same. So we have so many factors that we normally look at when you're trying to gauge the performance of a computer system. I'll prepare another video where I'll be talking about things you need to check when you want to buy a computer system. We'll get into details because we have a lot of confusion around these things. A lot of confusion. People go to buy computer systems, but they don't understand a computer more than from the looks. And the looks deceive. So that is why you cannot buy a computer from how it looks like. We normally check so many details that I'll be able to explain on a separate tutorial. Thank you so much. I hope that was clear and it was very interesting understanding the central processing unit of your computer system or the microprocessor and how it exactly works. See you during the next lesson. We'll continue exploring more and more interesting things on a computer system. I was your teacher, Obed. And don't forget to subscribe and like the video. Thank you and goodbye.
Yeah, Obex online niko tayari. Kwa simu yako ama kompyuta, ka nyumbani au kwa cyber. Tunasema elimu sio barrier.